Welcome back to another episode of Player Profiler Today. I'm your host, Jake. You can follow me on X or Twitter, still call it Louis Lewis 5. Today I dig deep into the latest fantasy football action. I talk about Josh Allen being the real deal, backup running backs rise to the occasion, bench Kirk Cousins, and finally cover tonight's matchups between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. Let's get fantasy. In the top story, Josh Allen is the real deal. Love him or hate him, he is the man, the GOAT right now in fantasy. He has been dominating fantasy for the last few weeks. He has been a man on a mission. Easily the front runner in the NFL as MVP. Also, to me, probably the MVP for fantasy gamers like myself. This year, in 13 games, he has 9 top 7 finishes, and 3 of them were the top quarterback of the week. Just last week, he was one of how many NFL players to have a throwing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. Drop in the comments how many players have ever done this, and bonus points if you can name who they were. But he was the first quarterback, I'll be upfront about that, to achieve this remarkable goal. Just last week, though, he had 148 yards passing, not too many passing yards at all, but 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 18 yards and a touchdown. He also passed to Amari Cooper, which was getting tackled, then lateraled back to Josh Allen for a touchdown, making it a catching touchdown. He finished the week as QB3. This week, he either helped you or hurt you make the fantasy playoffs and ruin your hopes like he did to me. Unfortunately, he crushed me in 2 of my leagues, making myself not eligible for the playoffs. He set another record as the first NFL player to have 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game. His stats are just off the chart. I mean, in this game, with the loss, but the high-scoring powered offenses by both the Rams and the Bills, he finished with 342 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 82 yards and 3 touchdowns. No receptions this week, though. Per Yahoo Fantasy, he is officially finished with the most points ever for a quarterback with 51.88 points. If you faced him like I had to, I'm sorry. We could cry together as we kiss our fantasy hopes away. But if you do have him, congrats. He is the real deal. And I just can't understand how he's not MVP or MVP for us fantasy gamers. Story 2 is the backup running back shine. I'll get into it after we hear a ad from the Podfather.
Oh, incredible news about Fast Draft. Fast Draft DFS is live. It's called the Flex 6 Frenzy. You just draft 6 guys, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends for the Sunday slate. You like Jameer, get 5 teams, submit your rankings, and Fast Draft will email you the results. We awarded $1,000 in prizes our first week, and we're just going up from there. Soon there's going to be a select 6. No drafting at all. You just pick any 6 guys. Our DFS mantra, just say no to salaries on Fast Draft. Don't forget there's free tools on Fast Draft too. You want to get ready for startup season? We've created the best Dynasty mock draft experience there is. And if you want to play in these DFS contests, and our best ball contest for 2025 are coming very soon too, just use promo code PODFATHER when you deposit and you get a free draft. It's that easy. And you're like, oh, I already have Fast Draft. Great. Refer a friend. Have them put your username in as the promo code, and then you and your friend will both get an instant deposit match up to $25. We got DFS. We got Dynasty Mocks. We got Best Ball. It's all there for you on fastdraft.app. Check it out. And the promo code is PODFATHER.
awesome app to get Fast Draft. You can find me on it. You might be in some of the battles for the money, like myself. You could always use mine at Louis Lewis 5, and we could always play. Even cover how many people have ever done the 3 or pass for a touchdown, rush for a touchdown, or receive a touchdown. There's only 5 people. Josh Allen was the first quarterback. The other ones is Christian McCaffrey, LaDainian Tomlinson, which is probably the all-time fantasy GOAT, in my opinion. David Patton for the New England Patriots, and the great Walter Payton. Those were the only 5 to ever have that achievement. Story number 2, backup running backs shine. This week, there were 6 starting running backs that were out due to injuries, or they got hurt during the game and the backups shined. This was the week to pick up and stash and hold on. We've been saying here at Player Profiler, get these guys late in the season, stash them, and they probably help you win games. These guys are humans. It's late in the season. Their bodies are taking a beating. I mean, all the hits that you can achieve and have against you, it's just does wonders toward the end of the, season where you're getting hit, you're getting punched, your body is going to take its toll. But like I said, keep up with us here at Fantasy Profile or Player Profiler, our waiver targets and ads of the week. You could always check out our Instagram at Roto Underworld. The first backup I'll be talking about is for the Las Vegas Raiders. Sincere McCormick. What a great name. He dominated the backfield in touches. He had 15 touches for 78 yards. The next running back was Amir Abdullah. Only 1 rushing attempt. McCormick also contributed in the passing game, which I was worried about because I haven't seen him the last couple games get too much involved. He had 3 targets, but only caught 2 of them for 11 yards. In that game, though, Aiden O'Connell will miss the rest of the season due to a knee injury. So Desmond Ridder will start most likely the rest of the season for the Raiders. So that could mean more opportunities going forward for more fantasy points for McCormick. His schedule the next 3 weeks during the playoffs: Falcons, Jacksonville, and the Saints. So there is some plus matchups in there. He's got to be one of my top RB ads. He's available in majority of leagues. If you have a dynasty, pick him up. I mean, what's it going to hurt? I know there's a bunch of players on your bench that aren't worth a damn, so why not pick him up? Who knows? He might play more next year too, because he's been doing really well. In the same game, Buccaneers starting running back, in my opinion, Bucky Irving left the game with the injury, leaving Rachaad White to get high volume. He did not disappoint by any means, finishing the game with 90 yards, a touchdown. He also caught 2 passes for 19 yards and another touchdown. He is currently running back 3 on the week. Huge performance after Irving left the game. Hopefully you had White's share, you had White starting with him, even sharing time with Bucky Irving in your lineups like myself. I did have to put Rachaad White into my lineup just because of bye week hell this week. And hey, it paid off, even though I lost the league because Josh Allen went off. Thanks, Josh. Next, we'll talk about the 2 rookies for the New York Jets. Breece Hall missed this one again with a knee injury, I do believe. In my professional opinion, I don't think he plays another down this season just because the Jets, Jets suck. And they don't have anything to play for besides pride. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not winning you games, so why not just tank the season and get a higher draft pick? There's no point of risking your better player on your team, if not the best, in Breece Hall. It sucks for us fantasy gamers because a lot of us took him in redrafts as probably running back like 2, 3, 4, and he's not going to be there for you in your fantasy playoffs. But going back to the rookies, Braylon Allen split time. He had 11 carries to Isaiah Davis with 10. Allen had 43 yards rushing. Davis had 40 yards rushing, but he did have a touchdown. Allen also contribute in the passing game with 4 catches, 38 yards. And Davis also helped out in the passing game, having 3 catches for 27 yards. If Hall does, in fact, miss more time, this backfield could be one to watch. It seems like it's pretty even 50-50 split between the two, Allen and Davis, but it might be one to add or stash for your fantasy playoffs, especially if one goes off next week or looks a lot more promising than the other running back. You have them for the next couple games. I'm going to talk about the Chargers backfield before I cover the next two that dominated in their games. Much like the Jets, they had a 50-50 split with J.K. Dobbins out for the year. Gus Edwards finished higher than Kamai Vidal, but Vidal is a rookie, so he's got to build that trust with the Harbaugh, with the coaching staff. Edwards finished with 36 yards and a touchdown, while Vidal had 34 yards rushing with just a target, did not catch it. These two names could be ones to look out for in waivers as well, but the only downfall on them, they are not involved in the passing game from what I could see. If they are, it's not going to be Gus Edwards. It's going to be Kamai Vidal. So that could be a great pickup for a stash, just in case, because watching that game last night, Edwards looked slow, did not look healthy, and I think Vidal gave more of a juice of a burst. Now, for the best backup this week, in my opinion, the Seattle Seahawks, Zach Charbonnet. He is currently number 1 running back on the week. And yes, this is before the two teams play tonight. This guy got the start due to Ken Walker being out this week. His performance it may have been key to some finding the playoffs or knives to the heart for other fantasy gamers and try and make their way to the fantasy playoffs. But he finished with 39 fantasy points this week, 134 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. He also added 7 catches, 59 yards. This man was in beast mode. And get the reference, Seattle. Earlier this season, he got a couple starts due to injury for Ken Walker as well in weeks 2 and 3. He finished as RB7 and RB8 those weeks. Let this man eat. Have Ken Walker get a little healthier. Start Zach Charbonnet next week. Have Walker healthy for your playoffs in the real NFL. If Seattle couldn't very well make it. Next year, though, is the last year for Ken Walker. They might even let him leave to chase that big money bag and have Zach Charbonnet as your guy, the starter for them. And they could draft another running back either this year or next year and kind of do the same thing and just rotate. I mean, it's always going to happen. Why pay for a guy that you're getting the same amount of production, if not worse, than the backup? That's probably going to be the same situation with Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. Rachaad White's on his final year next year, and they might just let him walk as well because Bucky Irving is that guy. Same thing with Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet. They might let Ken Walker walk after next year, and Zach Charbonnet is that guy. In fantasy, he's been amazing for us when he does get the start and the bulk load. It just sucks that he is sharing time with Ken Walker. If Ken Walker is out for an extended period, Zach Charbonnet is a man to get. If he's still on your waivers, stash him, play him. Hopefully he is a league winner for you. Finally, the last backup I'm going to talk about is the 49ers. I just want to apologize first. Sorry about last week. I kept stressing to saying pick up Jordan Mason. And after I recorded the episode, I seen that he was also placed on the IR. So hopefully you checked our social media here at Player Profiler on Instagram at RotoWorld, or listen to the podcasts through Player Profiler, or even my own Fantasy End Zone. You can find that on most places where you get your podcasts. If you did, you wound up finding the man was indeed Isaiah Guerendo, the man that you should have been targeting. Spend the rest of your fab money on that guy. Guerendo was the man. This week, he is currently ranked number 2. He finished with 78 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, while adding 2 catches for 50 yards. He did, however, suffer a foot sprain. So Patrick Taylor got some work in the second half. He also scored a touchdown himself. So it could have been a lot better fantasy numbers for Guerendo. But just be on the lookout here. You can check back here. We'll give you the up-to-date news. If Guerendo does miss time, in fact, Patrick Taylor is the next man up. Pick him up for insurance purposes, stashing. It could very well come in handy and could help you win your fantasy championship. These guys are all contribute so much. The backup running backs shine this week. Currently, we have the RB1, the RB2, the RB3 are all backups. These guys are fresher legs, healthier, and can get it done. Next year, you should be looking out throughout the season of stashing some of the handcuffs for RB, because this very well can easily happen next year. So you want to be ahead of the game. Follow us here at Player Profiler, and we'll get you there. Story number 3, bench Kirk Cousins. Come on. What does a 4-year, $160 million guy get you? The answer. Oh, sorry. I got intercepted by a fraud. In the last 4 starts, Kirk Cousins, he's got 8 interceptions. 8. With 0 touchdowns. He looks slow. He looks washed in recent weeks. I still can't get the play out of my head from just last week when he lobbed a little pass into triple coverage for an interception out of his 4 that he threw. This is not acceptable. He is single-handedly losing these games. For Christ's sake, you can't throw a deep ball to save your life. And you can't even throw a damn pass to Kyle freaking Pitts underneath. I just don't understand how you're not using Kyle Pitts in this offense. He has got freaky athletic scores. I only see him get 1 to 2 targets a game. The last couple games have been pretty much duds. Instead, he's trying to throw it still to Darnell Mooney time after time, and he can't even do that. He did one time I seen that he hit Darnell Mooney on a deeper pass. But seriously, we've seen this earlier in the season with the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson cannot throw a damn ball to save his life, and he turns the ball over way too much, leading to losses for your NFL team. That's kind of the same as what is happening right now in Atlanta. For the Browns, Watson got hurt, so they were able to turn to Jameis Winston, which has had a couple great games, but they can move the ball, they could pass the ball. But as the Falcons, they drafted a quarterback at number 8 in this year's draft. Give Michael Penix Jr. a chance. He is much better than Kirk Cousins currently, in my opinion. I think he would go out and ball. He would just make Kirk Cousins the bench warmer if he got a little taste, you'd make Kirk Cousins the bench warmer. And you'd give Michael Penix experience playing in the NFL. He's already sat enough weeks behind this trash quarterback in recent memory, or in this recent weeks. It's time for him to start, and I just don't know how you could keep on playing him. He's just turning the ball over. He's losing you games. It's just the same situation as the Browns, though. You got all this money tied up into this quarterback that you realize, crap, he cannot play. Unfortunately for the Browns, Watson did get hurt, though. Currently, Cousins is not hurt, but he looks slow and hurting your team. For Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and especially for Kyle Pitts, I think Penix can easily get it done with both of them, or all three of them, especially Kyle Pitts, because it can't get much worse than that. Enough is enough. Bring in Michael Penix. You enjoying the show? Don't miss any more exclusive content. Subscribe to Player Profiler YouTube channel at Player Profiler News. Follow us on Twitter at Profiler_NFL. Also visit the website playerprofiler.com/news for the latest breaking news and impact on fantasy football. Stay ahead of the game with Player Profiler. And the last thing we'll cover, we'll kind of make it quick. We got to get off for the next show, is Week 14's fantasy matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. As we head into the last game on Week 14 of the 2024 NFL season, Bengals are playing against the Cowboys with plenty of implications for your fantasy team and hopefully to capture a fantasy playoff spot, because this is typically the last week for us fantasy gamers, because we don't do week 18 just because normally they bench their starters if they're clinched. For the Bengals, you got Joe Burrow at quarterback. In my opinion, he's got to be up there in MVP talks. Unfortunately, he's not, because his team is hot garbage. I think they're 4-8 right now on the season, or 5-7. But currently he is number 3 without even playing tonight. Number 3 in the NFL with passing yards with 3,337. But he only needs 150 to take over the first place spot again from, I think it's Geno Smith, in my opinion. Geno Smith. But he does lead the league in touchdowns with 30 touchdowns on the season. Only 5 interceptions, too. That's another huge plus. When you're not turning the ball over, it's great for your team. I just wish he would have a better defense because they would be winning a whole bunch more games. In my opinion, also he's got to be one of the top guys for MVPs, but he's not going to get that recognition, unfortunately. At running back for the Bengals, Chase Brown. This guy's been dominating since Zach Moss has went to the IR with the neck injury. He's catching passes. He's running the ball for 70 yards, 1-2 touchdown, but he's catching everything that is coming out of the backfield. He is a must play, just like Joe Burrow is a must play as well. I mean, pretty much everyone on this Bengals offense is a must play besides Mike Gesicki. If you get into a predicament that you have to start him like I did because Ladd McConkey didn't play last night and my only guy that was on my bench was Mike Gesicki. Hopefully you're joining me and hoping Gesicki tears it up, but I don't see it this week. But for wide receivers, Jamar Chase, he's just a man above boys. They should have gave him a contract during the offseason. I'm just hoping that they continue to play all these players, even though they don't really have anything to play for. I'm just hoping that's how it's going to be. Also, T. Higgins, he's on a franchise deal. This will probably most likely be his last few games with the Bengals uniform. He's a must start. Chase is a must start. Chase Brown is a must start. And Joe Burrow is a must start. These guys are going to get it done. As for the Cowboys, you have Cooper Rush that the last few weeks he's been actually good because his passing volume is high. He's getting the ball out there. He's driving down the field and making, touchdowns. In my opinion, I'm not starting him though. I'm not playing him in any leagues at all. Don't even have a share of him. But Rico Dowell, he's probably a must start now. After his Thanksgiving game with 112 yards, he's the only running back. Zeke, you just look at him, he's slow. He is not great at all anymore like he once was. Rico Dowell is the Cowboys running back one, and he's going to be it going forward for the rest of this season. He's a start for me. I feel like with this Bengals defense, he's going to have great game tonight too. And CeeDee Lamb last week dropping 3 passes, getting injured. Just shrug that off. He's a start. He's going to be playing. He's easily a top 5 wide receiver in the league. I think Brandon Cooks can also be a start this week if you needed a player. I think he's going to have more than 50 yards and maybe even a touchdown this week, especially against a weak secondary for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm starting both of those guys and Rico Dowell. Jake Ferguson, I don't know if he's actually playing or if it's going to be Luke Schoonmaker, but either one, whatever one, those guys can also be starters this week. This game is filled with a bunch of fantasy playoff spot hanging in the balance. So I would be ecstatic to watch this game. As much as I like Joe Burrow and the Bengals, I think tonight, with the sun not in Jerry Jones's eyes, I'm going to say Cowboys have been playing really good defense lately. I'm going to say Cowboys win this one 31-24. That's another wrap of today's episode of Player Profiler Today. If you enjoyed the discussion, be sure to subscribe for more expert analysis and fantasy tips. Remember to follow us on Twitter for all the latest updates. Good luck with your lineups tonight, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.